Hey, today we're going to look at 11 tips that will help you bring a bohemian vibe into your home. So the first thing you can do to make your home boho is to add texture. Boho homes are always full of texture. But how do you actually add texture to your home? You always hear this, add texture, but like, what does it mean? So the way I like to add texture into my home is by thinking about the things that I enjoy touching when I go shopping. Things that you enjoy touching are probably gonna be things that bring texture into your room. So you can look at baskets, you can look at macrame hangers, woven items, things that are made out of leather, stone, things that are textural. Blankets, throw pillows, chunky knits, anything that feels cozy is going to be textural. The next thing is low-level seating. Boho homes are all about relaxing, hanging out with your friends, kicking back and having a good time. So low-level seating is really going to encourage that kind of behavior of relaxation. So what you want to do is look to adding floor pillows, Moroccan-style poufs and ottomans, you know those beautiful leather ottomans that you see often. Even layering cozy rugs to just kind of invite people to sit on the floor and stay a while. Not only low-level seating, but also lower coffee tables, in the bedroom maybe a lower bed, low-level furniture. The next tip is to not use a lot of heavy, dark furniture. Lighter woods are going to be a much better backdrop for all the colors and patterns that you're incorporating into your room. Dark furniture tends to be quite heavy, especially if you think of those dark IKEA pieces of furniture that often are seen around. They might look great in a more modern setting, but in a boho setting, it's great to go for maybe lighter woods. You will want to remember, however, to have one smaller dark element in your room, such as maybe like a side table that will help to anchor your room. The next tip is to add plants into your room. You definitely want to have plants if you're going for a boho look. Any boho room you see on Instagram or on the internet is gonna have plants, I guarantee it. Plants add this beautiful jungly vibe to any space, and they brighten a room and they freshen it, and they just also add to the overall decor. So you want to definitely try and incorporate plants, whether they're potted or hanging. Plants are just going to add so much to your space. I actually did another video about hanging plants. If you want to check that out, the link is in the description below. Another great thing about adding a lot of plants to your space is that you can add planters. Planters are a great accessory to add a fun splash of color into your room, to add texture into your room. They're a great way to enhance your boho space. Some plants that are really popular in boho settings are cacti, monsteras. Any tropical plants are really popular. If you have the right kind of temperature in your home and you live in the right kind of climate, definitely tropical plants are really boho. The next tip is to use a variety of different light sources. You don't want to just stick to one overhead light if you can. You want to try and mix in like a variety of different types of light sources. So if you have an overhead light and it's like a boob light, you know those boob lights, if you can switch that out for like a woven pendant or something like that, that would be a great start. And then maybe floor lamps, table lamps, lanterns, candles, string lights, you name it. Just try and create clusters of illumination, maybe in conversation areas, so that you create this very laid-back boho vibe. Tip number 6 is to use rugs. If you want a boho room, you gotta use rugs if you can. Especially vintage rugs, Moroccan rugs, these are really gonna add to that global eclectic feel. Layering rugs can also be more cost-effective. If you have a really big room and you can't buy a giant rug to fill it, it can get pretty pricey. You can layer smaller rugs to kind of cover more space. Ideally, you spend less because the rugs are smaller. Another way to cost-effectively layer rugs is to use a jute rug as a base. Jute rugs are quite affordable, and then layer a Persian or Moroccan rug on top of that. That looks really great. It adds that cozy feel and it adds the boho vibes for sure. Another tip is to use patterns. You can use patterns sparingly or you can use a ton of patterns. It's totally up to you. You want to try and coordinate colors somewhat, so if you're not sure where to start with picking your patterns, try and pick an overarching color palette. For example, gold and purple, or blue and green, or any 2 colors or 3 colors that inspire you, and then get patterns that derive from that palette. You also want to make sure if you're using a lot of patterns, or even just one large bold pattern, that your eye also has space to rest. So for example, if you use like a beautiful, colorful tapestry over your bed or over your sofa, that then you kind of pair it back with a neutral bedding or a neutral sofa, because otherwise it's going to become a visual overload and you don't necessarily want that. You can go for that look if you want, but it's better if you can allow your eyes to rest in certain areas of the room. So the next step is to add some kind of vintage element into your room. If you're doing a boho living room, for example, you could try and look for a vintage chair, whether it be an armchair or even just a wooden chair or a coffee table. Vintage items are really going to add some character to your room because they're worn, they tell a story, and that's really what boho decor is about. It's trying to tell a story. So the next step is to add something painted in a bright color. You don't have to, but it really helps add vibrancy and happiness to your space. Boho isn't sterile. Boho is fun. Boho is lighthearted. So if you can add something like a painted door, a bright yellow door, or a turquoise chair, or something, even like a modern piece of furniture that you paint a bright color, that's really going to add a nice pop of interest to your room. The next step isn't strictly decor related, but it is important in the home, and that's home fragrance. Don't underestimate the importance of having a nice smelling home. It really does wonders for the way you and others will feel when they're in your home, unless you pick a fragrance that your guests hate. It's a really personal choice, so you can go from wax melts to scented candles to incense to just spraying perfume around the house. It's great to have a home that smells nice. You don't want to be smelling your fried fish from last night. You want to smell something beautiful in your home that makes you feel relaxed and at ease. So the last tip is to add things that you love to your home. Try and surround yourself with things that spark joy, as Marie Kondo would say. You want to have things that make you happy. This rule is true for any style. Ideally, you always want to be surrounded by things that you love. Boho style takes time. Technically, it's a style that develops as you acquire items from your travels around the world, and that's what makes it feel global, and that's what makes it feel so diverse and interesting. That's not always possible for us to travel the world and acquire items. The important thing is that when you're shopping, you are truly buying things that speak to you in some way. Whether it's because of their texture or the way they look or the way they make you feel, you always want something that you feel you love. Otherwise, why is it in your space? Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Oh, hello. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found some useful tips today in this video and that you can maybe make yourself a boho home as well. If you want to read this information instead, I have an article on my website, poshpennies.com, and I'll leave a link for you in the description below so you can check that out if you want. Thanks, bye!